Hello guys and welcome into another round of the Manufacturers Cup, and we are at Mount Panorama in Group 4. So this was one of the most challenging ones I believe that I've done, even in a while. So it was let's say a good qualifying session. I somehow got a decent qualifying session without taking a penalty, and I started the race in P7. The race start was okay, and I decided to take the strategy of running 1 lap on the hard tires and 13 laps on the mediums. This was the strategy, but then again, I just forgot to practice the pit entry, and something like this happened. So initially I thought, okay, I might get like a 2 or 3 second penalty, but then again it was a 5 second penalty for cutting the track, and on top of that I crossed the entry line. So that's 3 plus 2 equals 5, and my race at this point was pretty much over, because 5 seconds here means that, well, you're losing about 10 seconds on the straight, because the car almost goes to a complete stop, which is not good if the other cars are going just about 300. So yeah, it's a bit, yeah, it's not good enough. And it was P7 in the end of the race. But how did I do it? Well, how did I do this recovery drive? It was actually, well, actually other people making mistakes, and that's what this is all about. You can see 1.5 second penalty for something like this. So instead of, let's say, getting a half a second penalty or nothing much, you're getting a 1.5 second penalty for hitting the, literally hitting the fence and actually losing time. It was just absolutely absurd how all of this was going on, and you can see how Mekti slightly tapped the wall, and it was a 1.5. So it was incredible. I was, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's really it. So I got a couple of places literally not making an additional mistake, which was, wow. In the next one, I did a qualifying of 159.9, which was my best result so far, and I honestly thought this race was gonna be really good. I started on the race in mediums, and the race was actually going pretty well. I mean, I was just behind Killian. The last section wasn't exactly the best one, because Wind made a slight mistake. I just tried to go on a wider line, got picked up by Josetti, and then I lost all of that speed, and I couldn't get back onto the straight. Of course, I'm gonna get this one place because Wind is serving this penalty, but then again, I got Josetti and Calster, which are, gonna take those 2 places, or actually my place at this point. So instead of gaining that 1 place, I, in the end, lost a place, which wasn't exactly the best start of the race. It was, let's say, okay, but I honestly thought I was gonna be a little bit quicker at this point. So started on the mediums, everything was, let's say, everything was okay. I mean, I lost at 1 place, it's not the end of the world, but then I got Marty behind, who is insanely quick on this track. The Genesis had so much acceleration, and not to even mention his pace all around the track. I mean, he was absolutely amazing. Okay, he made a couple of mistakes, led into getting a couple of penalties, but still, even with all of those penalties, he was still the quickest guy on the track, by far, I would say. So Will was actually leading this race. Marty didn't really qualify that well, but, Will actually did a really good job in this one, so I cannot say that, Marty is the only guy who's doing a good job here. But then again, I had Wind behind, and just after a couple of close ones, I was actually able to defend this one, so I wasn't about to let this go. So Wind, at this point, he was slightly quicker, but I wasn't gonna let this one pass that easily. I was really defending hard, and I could have been a little bit more aggressive, but there was no need for that. I know Wind is not gonna go for some crazy dive bump, because that's not what people like that usually do, and in the end he made a lot of mistake, which made him get that once again a 1.5 second penalty. I got behind Calster, and this is actually one of the most surprising things that happened in the second race, because I was very close. We were actually very close at this point. I never realized that his connection was really that bad. My connection wasn't the best, but his connection is what, 1 bar. We were always close racing. It was very, very close all the time. But then again, when I got into the breaking point of turn 1, things got interesting. Really interesting, let's say. So I was really far behind, and all of a sudden, I don't think it was anything to do with me. It was lag, and he was just kicked out. And it seemed like I hit him, but I was so far behind. And when I watched the replay, and I like, okay, what was this about? And I was like, yeah, okay. That's my reaction. What's this about? And in the end, he said in the chat it was all about lag and probably his connection. So I was all good. I continued, and somehow once again I finished in P7, almost got up to like P4, which was quite surprising. And then we move on into race 3, which is, I mean, it was the last slot of the day, and it was the last call. And once again, I decided to do the strategy of 1 lap hards and 13 laps mediums. I didn't really think it was gonna go well, because, well, the first time I did it, it really didn't go well. I tried to do it again, maybe something can happen on this track, and then Brad gave me a nice little push and he just forgot about his braking point. And I was like, ah, man. Yeah, I know it's difficult, but missing your braking point there, I mean, that's one of the worst things that can happen at the beginning of the last lap. That's the worst thing. So here, we're going into the pits. This time, I'm very careful, switching to the mediums, and then we're just about to hit the track once again. This time in P10, which wasn't the worst place in the world, but then a lot of guys in front of me already done their pit stops. And I was like, is this really going to work? Because all I wanted to do here in this slot was avoid all of the traffic. Because when you're fighting against someone like I did fight with this Italian for quite a long, which we will see in the next couple of minutes, you lose quite a lot of time. So you lose, I think, even if someone goes for a move, you're trying to defend, you lose at least like 3 to 4 tenths, which is quite a lot. And in just about 10 laps, it can become quite a significant difference. And I thought to myself, you know what, I'm gonna get away from the Italian. He's in the RCF, which is not the best car. It's like, in this middle section, it's definitely not one of the better cars. My GTR was very stable, and in the first couple of laps, I tried to be very careful. I even missed this first one. I just couldn't get up the pace with these tires instantly, and usually it takes me just about a couple of laps to get into the zone and really focus on what I'm doing, and eventually feel the tires and feel the grip of the tires. But this was, I mean, this should have been, yeah, I should be instantly adjusted to this new change, which is almost impossible to do, but I guess some guys can do it. So did the Italian, so he was much better at this point. He was really close, and I mean, I wasn't about to let this happen. I didn't really want to get him past, because I know if he makes a mistake, if something happens in the middle of the race, I will most likely be the guy who's going to take that place. So if he's getting that place and not me, and he just pulls away into the distance, yeah, that can be quite tricky for me and my end result. My exits weren't really the best. I was constantly focused on him, and in the end, I think maybe the best way to do this was just to let him pass. But I wasn't thinking about doing that at this point, because this was my last slot, and the only thing that I can do at this point was to defend, and really defend hard. He tried to go on the outside, which is not usually the best place for this turn, and yeah, he just went too wide onto the marbles, and there is really nothing much that he could have done. Also, he was using the slipstream, which is quite useful, and not in this section, but then as we got closer to the Italian, you can see that he made that little mistake, just slightly tapping the wall, and it's a 1.5 second penalty. And as I said before, I just wasn't about to let that place happen, or I don't want to let him pass like that, because if someone makes a mistake in front of me and I'm just in about that gap, I can easily take the place. But if I'm the second guy behind, it's questionable. I could take it, or I might get into the battle with the other guy, and everything just follows that pattern. So yeah, he actually got by him really easy, because a 1.5 second penalty isn't 1.5, it's more like a 3 second penalty on the circuit, which is absurd once again. So I don't know what PD was thinking about all of this, because why would you introduce a manufacturer's round like this when a 1.5 second penalty is, it's actually really strict, and to serve it, you get 3 seconds. And now we're going into this moment, which was, well, it was debatable of, I don't know, you guys be the judge, but I slowed down the footage here. I think I gave him enough space, and please let me know down in the comments what you think about this one. I think he just turned in a little bit too soon. I did brake late, I did give him just about enough space, but there was much more space on the outside. I think he just turned in a little bit too soon, and in the end, that was it. For the next couple of laps, we only had this one moment where he tried to go for that move. I wasn't about to let that happen, and then yeah, that was pretty much it. His tires were not exactly at the best shape, which I realized at the replay. My tires were significantly better, which meant that, I could have been pushing a lot more. My pace was much more stable, and he just couldn't keep up at that point. And then later, which I realized, which was once again absurd, lap 11 out of 14, making this I mean, I don't even know how to call it. Was it even a mistake? Just slightly tapping the wall twice, and it's a 3 second penalty. Honestly, I don't think that's fair. The guy had some pace and he definitely had the chance to maybe go for one additional move. I'm not saying that I would be like easy to let him pass, but you never know. And then Nono made this mistake, and once again he got the 1.5 second penalty. Once again, I don't know what PD was thinking about this one, and that meant that I'm gonna get close to Nono in just about 2.5 second range. At this point I thought, maybe he's got some damage, maybe I can get closer, but that wasn't really it. So after all of the guys done their penalties and done all of their stops, I was promoted up to P5, and this is pretty much where I stayed. So Nono was always at about 2.5 seconds. I really didn't want to push it anymore because it was less slot, and if I made that mistake, Callister would have gotten it. So maybe it was probably better to just take it easy, focus on getting that P5, crossing that finish line, and taking the points. In this lobby, I think this was a good decision. So it was quite tough at the first two slots and in the first half of this race. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Replay, you can find it if you search for tag digit in the game. And please let me know once again what do you think, and if you're not subscribed, you should subscribe. Think about it. So once again, thank you very much for watching this video, and until the next time, bye.